that's kind of how I thought after I did Once Upon a Time. I was only 19 when I did that movie. I was so young, and he was my hero, and he was like, that was like, if I get to work with Quentin Tarantino one day, that'll be the coolest thing I'll ever do in my life. And after that, I was like, what the heck am I supposed to do now? And then I got to work with someone like Sean and make Anora. And, so I'm really hopeful and looking forward to that next role or person I get to work with where I get to have that feeling again.
Yeah.
Because I think it's that feeling that I'm really chasing.
If you think for a second this is going to be allowed, you're dead wrong. In fact, if you don't help me fix this, I'm going to have you arrested. Yeah. I'm going to have you arrested.
Arrested?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
Yep.
Arrested for what?
For what?
Yeah.
I'll tell you for what. Trespassing.
Trespassing.
Fraud. Cheating. Theft.
Theft?
Yes, theft.
Assault.
And actually the picture is very, very clear here. A scheming prostitute married Ivan, cheated Ivan to marry her so she can steal from his wealthy family. That's it.
Definitely.
And I'm sure you already have criminal records, so
For sure,
yeah, 1, 2, 3, you're in jail.
easy.
Yep.
Ivan proposed to me. He wanted to get married. He put a fucking ring on my finger. Do you see this shit?
What ring?
He bought me a fucking 4-carat ring. Does this look real to you, motherfucker? Bet you never seen one of these before, have you, huh?
Кольцо сними с нее.
No.
Кольцо-
This is my
кольцо сними.
fucking ring, Ivan.
Give me that fucking ring.
I am not giving you the fucking
Кольцо сними,
You
блядь, чего
touch me
стоишь?
and I will fucking scream, motherfucker. Do not come fucking...
Get that fucking ring off of her. Ноги держи. Держи ее ноги. ёп.
Be careful.
Hold the legs.
This is Zakhara's property.
Shut up. Shut up. Hey, don't scream. Hey, what is she saying? Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Is she saying rape? Is she, what? Shut up. Shut
Она
up.
кусает
What rape?
тебя.
What are you, ouch! Rape? What rape? What the fuck are you? Эй, сейчас полиция придет, заткни ей рот. Блядь, заслуживай. Зачем? Ну это тряпка какая-нибудь. Твою мать, блядь.
Stop screaming! Please stop screaming! Please stop screaming! Welcome to the actor's side. I could read a list of the awards she has won so far, and maybe I will, but it's an extraordinary performance for Anora, which debuted at Cannes, which is where I first saw it. Didn't know what I was walking into. What an experience. And what's been happening with this movie and with your performance. Mikey Madison, welcome to the actor's side.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Isn't this fun, exciting, to just suddenly be nominated and get this kind of recognition? Let me read here. You have already won Los Angeles Film Critics, Boston Film Critics, Washington, D.C., the National Board of Review, Phoenix, Seattle, St. Louis, Toronto, Virginia, nominated Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, SAG, BAFTA, and Academy Awards for Best Actress. This is just a drop in the bucket of it. What do you think when I say all that?
Gosh, I keep having these pinch me moments of, I can't believe that this is happening in my life. Is it actually happening to me, or is this some kind of weird daydream and I'm gonna snap out of it and it's all gonna just be some dream? So I don't know if it's really sunk in yet, because of course I've dreamed about this my whole career as an actress and wondered, I wonder if I'll ever be in a film that, I don't know, that is a part of something like this. And I am, and it's very surreal, and it's exciting, and I don't know if it'll quite feel real maybe until it's over, and then I'll have some time to really think about it.
Yeah. I have to say, you have been part of a film that was part of all this.
Oh, yes. Well,
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'm not saying this because of where, it is my favorite film of the last 10 years. I loved that movie, and I love Quentin Tarantino, but it was his masterpiece. There's no
Oh,
question.
absolutely. I mean, he's my hero. I adore him, even before I got to work with him. But I think, I mean, to have a small piece,
Right.
just to be a tiny, tiny part of that film was an absolute dream come true. But even with that, I was just sort of, watching from the sidelines and cheering everybody on, like, yeah. So now it feels a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had one of the most memorable scenes in that movie, I have to say. I mean, they set you on fire, and I mean, it was like the stunts and the fights. You have that in Anora too. You have fights. It seems like every role you're getting lately, you get a little physicality here. But you're working with Brad Pitt in that movie and the dog. Did
Oh
you work?
yeah. Yes. There were multiple pit bulls that I worked with. Very well trained, beautiful dogs whose only job was just to do that film. They were trained specifically for that film.
Wow.
And I was like, well, what's going to happen? Are they going to go on and do different movies? And she was like, oh no, they're gonna go and like live on a farm somewhere. I was like, wow,
That's it. That's their whole
amazing.
career.
I guess so, yeah.
Amazing.
But I think that one of the dogs won the Palm Dog Award.
Palm Dog, yes.
Yeah, so
It can.
quite an award for it.
That's it. I have to say though that was so memorable. You played Susan Atkins.
Yes,
and
I did,
did you
yeah.
do research for that? I mean, it's absurd, in a lot of ways of what you had to go through in it. But
Oh, of course I did. I had already known quite a bit about the Manson family. I did a lot of research even before I auditioned for the film, just out of curiosity. It's one of those sort of. I mean, I'm an LA native, and
yeah.
these things happened not too far away from where I live, and so I had just kind of randomly, at one point, maybe a couple years before I auditioned for the film, just like went down a rabbit hole of doing research and like watching documentaries and reading articles about the Manson family and this sort of huge thing that had happened in history. And so I already knew about the history of that.
Yeah.
And so it was more just about understanding who the character was that I was playing, really trying to create a character so that I could be grounded in reality of all the absurd craziness that was happening. Yeah.
That's interesting because it was like, I'm an LA native too. So
Oh, really?
oh yeah, there aren't that many of us. You know,
No,
you don't
there
meet
aren't.
them. I was born in Santa Monica, but it was. It's always great to meet another LA native, by the way. But
Oh, absolutely. I feel the same way. I take a lot of pride in, being a Valley girl. So.
Oh yeah. We've gone through some tough times in the last few days here in this town. But
Absolutely. I mean, the past few weeks, it's been really heartbreaking, and I'm sure for you as well, and just like the whole world. And
yeah, it's amazing. Quentin Tarantino, did you audition for him when you did that picture?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I auditioned for him, and he read with me. He was the reader, and it was so much fun. And I auditioned for this one character, and then he was like, "Well, you know what? Why don't you do a cold read? And here's some new audition sides, and I'll audition someone else, and you go into this room and rehearse these lines, and I'll bring you back in." And so I did, and I did a cold read for this sort of short monologue that Sadie has in a car. Yeah. And that was the scene that I did my second part of the audition with. And then he brought me back for a chemistry read, and I was also able to be a part of the table read, which was so amazing. And I was sitting next to the late great Burt Reynolds.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm so grateful that I had a chance to meet a legend like that.
He was originally cast in it.
Yes, he was.
And unfortunately couldn't do it and then died. And so he's replaced by Bruce Dern. But you were there at that table read?
Yes, I was. And I was the first one at the table read because I'm always on time. I was very early. So I was just sitting there. I had just gotten the role like a day before. And I was just sort of watching all of these like incredible, iconic actors walk through the door one after another. Like Burt Reynolds walked in, and then Al Pacino and Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie, and it was so surreal. It was kind of like the same feeling that I have now amongst all of this. It was the same feeling I had then. Is like my mom dropped me off and picked me up, and I was like, I don't even know if that experience I had was real, because it was so like dreamlike and strange and like fantastical, and yeah, it was so fun. And Quentin was having all of us read different characters as well, like, oh, Brad, can you read like, I don't know, like person number 2 or like this character? And so it was fun. It was
That's wild.
yeah, it was. And it also felt like very old Hollywood as well, old school, to sit at this big long table and have a table read like that.
I know. You don't get that much now, do you? TV you did. You did Better Things for 5 years.
I did, but we didn't have any table reads for that.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
That's unusual on television comedy.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, was that fun doing Better Things?
Yeah, I shot the pilot when I was almost 16, so I was still 15 and a half. I mean, it was 7 years of filming and spaces in between, and so it was a lot of my life. It was my entire career as an actress was really on that show up until it ended. And so I learned a lot on that show. I really knew very little about acting and making television. And so it was all...
It's like a great university to go in and learn all aspects of the business.
Absolutely. I never went to college or film school. So that's my college. It's my acting school, my film school. And then I think Once Upon a Time was kind of like my grad school in a way. I was doing that at the same time as Better Things. I was filming Better Things during the day, and then at night I was doing night shoots on Once Upon a Time.
Amazing. And then of course you wound up, this was such an interesting story. Sean Baker, the writer, producer, director, film editor, he's nominated for Oscars for all of those things on Anora, happened to come out of Scream. And you obviously were in Scream, this one, 2022, and basically offered you the role of a movie he hadn't written yet.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Hollywood story you rarely hear.
Oh, really?
I mean, usually there's a script or something. What do you think about that encounter? What did he see in Scream that led to Anora?
Well, I mean, he had also seen my little role in Once Upon a Time. I remember him telling me that he had even gone to go see it again, just my scene, so that he could watch it again. He was thinking, oh, maybe one day we'll do something together, but I don't know what it would be. And then, a handful of years down the line, Scream came out, and Sean goes to see everything. Every movie he goes to see in theaters.
I know he's a film freak. I interviewed him here in this seat, and he collects posters and everything else. He's crazy.
He's a true cinephile. Like if you looked in the dictionary and you opened it up and you saw cinephile, there'd be a photo of Sean Baker. He is just like, he just loves that movie-going experience. And so he saw Scream, and he told me that when he was sitting in the theater, he turned to Sammy Kwan, his wife and our incredible producer, and was like, oh, I think she's who should be in this film. And so I think he had a loose idea for what the movie would be. And he, 2 days later, a couple days later, I met with him, had coffee, and he was like, hey, you want to work with me? If you do, this is the kind of story I want to tell. I'll write it for you if you want to do it. And I was pretty floored. I was like, yes, absolutely. I would love to work with you. I said yes, but I was still kind of like, is this real? Like, did he really just offer me a role to work with him without an audition? And so he had offered me the role. So I made my agent, Rachel, I was like, please just call him again and ask him if I really have the role. I just want to make sure that I really do, even though he said you have the role. And so he sent me a voice memo, which is like classic Sean Baker, and was like, hey, Mikey, like you have the role. The role is yours. I'm writing it for you.
That is amazing.
Thank you for saying that. My imposter syndrome says thank you. Yeah.
That, has happened. Directors come in and write roles for someone they have in their head or something there. But you at your young age, based on, your level of time in the business, that's a huge compliment.
I'm very very grateful that he wanted to work with me. I mean, making this film has completely changed my life, not just because of everything that's happening right now, but just the experience of making a movie like that with someone like Sean and the kind of collaboration we had. It was so amazing. And yeah, it's a special movie. It's always been special to me.
That's it. And you got to be very involved in the creation of Annie of Anora
Yeah.
here, which is also something, some directors will say, don't change a word of dialogue or anything. You were in on the whole process from the beginning.
Well, he's a absolutely wonderful talent, and he has a very specific, singular vision that is Sean Baker. It has Sean Baker written all over it. He has this very kind of twisted sense of humor that I love, that is very specific to him and his sort of inner monologue. And I knew that it would always be like a Sean Baker film, but he really welcomed me into the process in such a grand way that I'd never been welcomed into before. I remember when I first met him, he was like, "So what do you want to do in this movie? Like, do you have any talents? Is there anything you want to do?" And I was so shocked by that question. No one had ever asked me that before.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to answer it, because it was really shocking to me. And it took me a little bit to kind of really process that he really genuinely wanted to collaborate with me.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted to make this with me. And I was like, took me a second to get there. And then I was like, this is what I've been freaking waiting for, is to is to have this with someone. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go all in on this. And it was so wonderful. It was just amazing to do something like that.
That's an amazing thing. And she's an amazing character too. You really had to do a lot of work to develop this, from learning how to work on a stripper's pole. Did you get your own pole?
Oh, of course
you have
I
one at
did.
home to practice on, or?
Yeah, I did. So I mean, that was a really important part of her physicality.
Yeah.
I wanted her to be good at her job, like
Right,
really
yeah.
good. And I think that all of the work I did, I was like, I want it to seem like she's been dancing for a handful of years.
Yeah.
And so I need to do something that's impressive and effortless too. And I'm not someone who is like, at the time, wasn't like super comfortable in my sexuality. I was like, I need to figure that out, because she is a character. She's a woman who is, and is able to see her sexuality, like, as a woman from an outside perspective. Like, what is this man? How does he see me? Because that's her job. Her job is, she's a sex professional.
Yeah.
And so I was very ambitious in what I wanted to be able to master in terms of like pole tricks and dancing and floor routines. And so
twerking.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very, very important part of like club culture. It is. It's true.
Yeah.
It's modern. That's a modern way that
Had you
women...
ever twerked? I've never asked an actor this question before.
Are you trying to learn? Is that...
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, no, I had never attempted before. I just didn't feel like in tune with my body in that like cool, sexy way. Like
Right.
I just never had like tried to move like that before. But it's an important, like I said, that's how women dance at the club. It's just a modern way of like moving your body and like showing off, and has attitude to it. And so I was like, well, that's something I'm gonna have to learn. Because I wanted it to be modern, and I wanted it to be like ballsy the way that she like, you know, shows herself off. And so I learned. I had an incredible dance teacher who taught me all of that. She taught me how to give a lap dance, how to twerk, how to dance, how to do pole tricks. She taught me everything.
Wow.
And I spent months, like hours each day, really trying to perfect what I had learned, because, you know, for those moments that you get to see my character, you learn so much about her.
Yeah, totally. It seems so natural.
Thank
But
you.
I know all the work that goes into getting it to that level. And that's just one level of the performance too, because she's heartbreaking. You know, if you haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to tell you the end, but watch the last shot of this picture and what you get to there and how you do this without dialogue that tells you absolutely everything. It's heartbreaking and it's amazing. Working with your Russian co-stars, you also had to pick up Russian, I
Yes,
guess.
I did. Yeah, I had to
Yeah.
learn Russian. I didn't speak another language previously. I mean, I do not speak Russian now. It's a very complicated, difficult language to learn, but I had to learn it. And my character is second generation Russian speaker, and so you know, her backstory is that she learned Russian from her grandmother, who only spoke Russian. And my character's mother spoke Russian as well, but it wasn't practiced in the household. So there's a very specific way that my character speaks Russian. It has to be almost childlike in a way. I didn't want it to be completely fluent and have all of those, like, you know, rolling R's. And I wanted there to be a stark difference between Igor and Vanya, and then Annie as a Russian speaker. She's never going to fit in. She's never going to be one of them. She's never going to be at that level or place that Vanya is at. She's always going to be an outsider kind of looking in. And so I was very specific in the way that I wanted to learn Russian and the dialogue, and I really wanted to understand exactly what I was saying and, you know, be searching for those words and understand the way that you like wrap around the sounds. And so it was really complicated, and one of the most stressful parts. After the first Russian session, I would burst into tears because I was like, I just am never going to be able to do this. Like, I have 2 months to learn Russian for this role. This is going to be impossible. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to have to fall asleep listening to 10 hours of Russian speaking, and I'm going to have to wake up in the morning, and that's also what I listen to. And I'm going to have to just do, like, you know, 2-hour-long sessions multiple times a week with this Russian coach and just, like, nail it into my brain.
That's amazing. And you did it. And plus you're from Brooklyn. The character's from Brooklyn here, too. So you have that accent, because we have established we are both Angelinos, which definitely, we have no accents.
Well, to other people, I certainly have, like, I mean, I'm a Valley girl, and if you haven't noticed, which it's like, I mean, I know I'm very aware of the way I speak because of all of this dialect work that I've done recently.
There you go, yeah.
But I'm like, I really like hold my voice up here. It's like at the end of my sentences go up, and it's so different than the way that Annie speaks. And like, I think her voice resonates in like a very different part of her body. It's like more from here. There's like a toughness to it. There's attitude. And so I wanted it to be specific to Brighton Beach in Brooklyn. I wanted it to have like a modern feeling to it. I wanted to understand all of like the slang and the way that like these young women talk from that area. So I went to Brighton Beach and I lived there about a month before we started shooting. I listened to how people were speaking. I tried to integrate myself into the community and understand what it was like to be a Brighton Beach native. And I lived just 2 blocks away from where my character lived. And
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I
Would
really
you call yourself a method actor?
No.
Okay.
You know, I don't know anything about Stanislavski. I've never studied Stanislavski's The Method before. Maybe one day, like, I'll read a book about it and try to understand.
He's got a great book, An Actor Prepares. I took it in high school.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I tried to stay away from the hard subjects, so I took acting. You know, that was for.
And then Tricks on You, because it's pretty complicated and intellectual.
It's much more complicated, which is why I'm talking to actors rather than doing it. I admire so much what actors go through to create a role, every different kind of role.
Yeah. No, I think my process is just more intuitive. Like I think it's just whatever I feel is necessary to play each specific character is just something I'll try to do. And I think for this one, There was so much about Annie that is so different from me in my life, and I wanted to understand it on a deep way. And I'm constantly searching for just trying to get even deeper as an actor, keep refining my artist practice. And so I was like, I'm just really going to try to immerse myself in this world as much as possible. And I think that all that work I did is why you get to see me on screen. Like it, for instance, like in the club with all of those women, I'm the only woman who is not a sex worker in real life. And so I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to seem like an actress amongst like all of these women who are acting for the first time and have similar lived experiences to the people they're playing. I wanted it to be honest, and I didn't want there to be like, I don't know, it's like a shiny surface to it. I wanted it to be just real and realistic. And
Well, you pulled it off, I have to say. With that, I had no idea that they weren't professional actors or anything. And
well, I think that, sorry to interrupt, but
no.
first time actors, but I think Sean really tries not to say professional or non-professional, because they're all professional people who are just happen to be acting for the first time.
Which is, Well, it's an extraordinary movie. It's an extraordinary performance. Like I said, I saw it at Cannes. I remember that, I love seeing movies. I have no idea what they are. All I knew was
kind of exciting to do that
the
too.
name, Anora. Okay, what's this?
Right.
And we go in, and there it was. And of course, won the Palme d'Or. That had to be an exciting experience.
Oh my gosh, of course. And I mean, Greta Gerwig was the jury president, and she's a director who I've loved forever, and even like wrote a letter to years and years ago.
Oh, you're kidding. Here she is, the head of the jury.
Yes, I know. And so it's like very exciting for me. And I had no expectations going into Cannes. That itself was like a dream come true for me, to go to Cannes Film Festival, have a film in main competition. That was like, wow, like this is like the coolest thing I will ever do. And then it's just sort of like kind of gotten more and more dreamlike and more exciting, and like everything has just been a wonderful surprise that has followed. Yeah.
A continuing ride. Well, I wish you the best going forward. Thank you for joining us on the Actors Side today, Mikey Madison.
Thank you so much for having me.